meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. My name is Donna M. Gray Banks, and I am your host. Our guest tonight is Mark Lewis, author of Looking Through a Different Lens. Please welcome Mark to Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. Thank you for being here tonight. Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation.
Applause.
Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation is brought to you by Eilers Diamonds LLC, Ladero Press, Milton McCulloch, a Dante production, and the Fresh Book Festival, which will be held in the beautiful city of Daytona Beach on 23, 24, 25 February in 2023. If you have any questions for Mark, please leave them in the chat room. And we are about to get started. This conversation is being recorded. Good evening, Mark. Please take a moment and give our audience a brief background. I don't know what happened.
Oh man, what can I say about myself? Let's see. I was born and raised in Daytona Beach, and I grew up in a large family. Got 5 sisters. My brother Eric is my only brother. He's the youngest kid, youngest child, and I was basically raised by my mother and my grandmother. Raised without a dad, basically. Grew up in and around the Bethune-Cookman College environment when I was a child. That was exposed me to a lot of things, a lot of great speakers, events that basically helped shape my life. And it gave me an insight to, what I wanted to do with my life later on, see the world, experience, different things. Bethune-Cookman basically, just shaped my imagination and gave me the impetus to, want to see, things that other people from that neighborhood were never going to see, do things that other people from that neighborhood are never going to, be able to do. And I ended up going to school there for 2 years, couldn't stay in because I couldn't afford it. Joined the Air Force for 12 years. I was in a tactical communications unit, a unit that basically supported ground forces. So I've actually participated in a few conflicts, as it were. So after that, I got out of the service after 12 years, moved to Los Angeles, and immersed myself in the acting and entertainment. And after 5 years there, moved back home, and I've been here for about 20 years. I've worked in motorsports, PR at Daytona International Speedway, and I've also been coaching and mentoring for the last, I would say about the last 6 or 7 years since my departure from Daytona. And that's basically it.
So do you coach here in Daytona? Because I've seen pictures of you.
I do. I'm the receivers coach at Seabreeze High School.
Okay.
And this is I just finished my 3rd year with the Sandcrabs. Now, ironically enough, I was a receiver. I played this position of receiver at Seabreeze in high school.
So you've come full circle. I've come full circle. Yeah, very good. So thank you very much for your background. I want to just take a moment before we dive into your novel to discuss the relationship between the 2 male characters in your book. And were you able to have a long-standing relationship with a male in real life? And how difficult is it, in your opinion, for a man to have that kind of relationship with another man that's not physical or, a love relationship for 30, 20, 40 years?
Yeah, I've had a 40-year relationship with my best friend, Rob Michael. Rob and I met in the Air Force. Upon meeting him, we really didn't like each other. But God has a sense of humor.
Right.
And put the wheels in place for us to actually need to become roommates to help each other financially. And after about a week, he became my best friend. And I would imagine the relationship that you see between Chris and Michael. By the way, Michael's name is spelled M-I-K-E-L-L because it's Rob's last name.
Oh, okay. Very good.
So that's my homage to my best friend, to my
Right.
boy. And our relationship, even though it doesn't directly correlate with the relationship between Chris and Michael.
Mm-hmm.
The basis of it basically is that friendship, because it's the only one I've ever had like that, so
right. Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's rare for most men to keep a relationship that long. And
yeah, it is.
And I think we talked about it earlier before we got on camera, that I think that that's really important for a lot of men to be able to have that outlet, because, what you get from a woman is not exactly what you get from a man, right? And so to have that kind of
he's the only guy in my life. He's the only guy in my life I've ever had that kind of relationship with.
Right.
And it is rare.
Right. It is very rare. So I
have many acquaintances.
Right.
Yeah, I have many acquaintances. I have few friends.
That's what I'm saying. So I like the fact that the book developed that relationship, that male relationship that was strictly platonic, but intimate in a way that they had conversations and knew, you could be not around each other for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months, a year, and come right back, and the period begins in the conversation. So thank you for that, because
exactly
on top of it being a great book, it does delve into a relationship between two men that most men don't have, and they really ought to. So I appreciate that. Let's talk about why you so go ahead. What did you say?
Beautiful.
Okay. So
no, I'm good with that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'll take that as a compliment.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's very rare to read a book that way. Tell me why you became a writer. Where'd you get the calling? And why fiction and not real life? Because you have a story to tell.
Yeah. In the mid 90s, I was living in Los Angeles, and my other bestie, Darlene DeJohnette, is on this tonight. We were living in Los Angeles at the same time, and I was a struggling actor, and I wanted. You get around other actors, they go like, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm only acting. I'm only going to workshops. I'm doing something. And you got to broaden yourself. I had this one good friend, Josef Cannon. He's an award-winning actor. And he said, look here, you got to expand yourself. You're good with words. Have you ever tried writing? And I said, bro, I don't know about writing. He says, look, what's it going to hurt? Stretch yourself. Do it. So I started writing these vignettes, these one-page monologues for actors who were doing auditions, and I got really good at it.
Okay.
And so Joseph had several of them, and he came to me and he said, "Look, man, can you write 5 of these for an original 2-man show?" And I went like, "Okay, not a problem. I can do that." Okay, would you be willing to act those pieces as well? And I said, not a problem. He said, good, I'll write 5, you'll write 5, we'll come up with a nice catchy theme to all of this, and then we'll take it and we'll go on Melrose with it. So if you know LA, Melrose is full of these very trendy, very nice
stores,
dinner clubs.
Oh, dinner clubs. Okay.
Exactly. So you'll have music in one, you'll have you may see a play in another. So we debuted what became known as neighborhoods at a place called Maskers on Melrose in Hollywood. And it became a hit. I didn't get paid for it. It was just one of those things that, they were making money, they were bringing in, the owner of the club absolutely loved it. And it got so good that Ted Lange of Love Boat fame saw it one night and came up. Yeah, Ted came up to us, came up to me and Joseph and said, look, I would love to direct this. It's good. It can be even better. So I got a chance to Ted on my resume. And that's how it started. After that, I basically started writing. I had another friend who was a screenwriter, and she had done a few episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And she said, you know, have you ever thought about doing a screenplay? And I was like, oh, no, that sounds like a lot of work. She says, don't worry about it. I'll give you a treatment, what we call a treatment, and look at it and see the format and everything. Don't worry about it. You're a bright guy. You'll pick it up. Picked it up, and all of a sudden started writing. And I actually wrote 3 of them, and only one survived. And it turned out to be this book. And it was the only one that I translated from written form back in the 90s. And then typed all of it in a computer file, and it's been in a read file sitting around for 20 years until I met Cynthia, and I said, look, read this thing, see if it's got any merit. She came back to me 2 weeks later, and she said, I want to publish it.
Oh my!
And I was like, I was flabbergasted. I was shocked. I had no earthly idea. I thought it was good because, it's like your children. You go like, well, yeah, Josh is a great boy. And then when Josh gets away from the house, he's a terror. You don't know if it's really good or not. But when she put her stamp of approval on it and said, I want to publish this, all of a sudden my life changed.
Let's talk, and this is not one of your questions, but where did the title of the book come from?
Originally, it was known as Better Half. And I love that because I just thought it was catchy, but through the creative process,
it changed.
Cynthia, or Ann Jeffries, her AKA, she said it doesn't really capture what the story has become, because it became a collaborative effort. A lot of the life that were breathed into these characters was through Cynthia herself. And so I felt that she had a right to name it as well. And of course, she's the boss because it's her publishing house.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So never, ever, ever argue with the boss. So it became looking through a different lens, and I think it's quite appropriate. I like it.
I like the title. Yes. And so the book is it's a romance. Certain portions of the book are in another country. So why did you think it was important to develop that romance, this novel and that romance in another country?
That's a good question. I think because I've been to other places. I've been abroad, and I love the some of the most interesting conversations I've ever had with strangers. We talked about the places that they've been. If you've been to Africa, if you've been to the Middle East, if you've been to Asia, if you've been to Australia, I think it's something that really helps to capture people's imaginations. So for me, it was like a natural thing to do, to bring a foreign venue into this and incorporate it as part of the story. And if you'll notice, it's kind of like a reoccurring theme, because Seamus, Chris's father,
right,
he's Scottish.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So exactly, and I'm going like, okay, the father of this black man is a white Scot, and I just wanted my imagination to just go stupid and try to bring in other places as well. And missionary work, which is it became a big part of the story. Cynthia and I collaborated on that.
Okay.
And we kind of fought with it a little bit, but in the long run, she's written a bazillion books.
Yes, a bazillion.
At the time, I had written like, right? So again, you have to defer.
Right.
You have to defer to what somebody knows, as a working concept. and it worked.
I think we like to tell the young writers or people who are just starting out, don't pick a subject that you don't have a whole lot of, I mean, because the research will be just, just a lot if you don't have anything to pull from, right? So it's, you had to be there in order to express how it is.
Right.
So thank you for that. And so writing,
wow.
do you write by an outline, by scenes, by dates, or did Cynthia kind of pull all that in for you? How did that happen?
Well, that's the wonderful thing. I got to give special thanks to Jessica Tills, the creative director at TWA Solutions and Services. They had a big hand in every creative aspect of this, including editing as well. And I have to thank Ms. Jeffries, because she basically, she looked at it in the form that I wrote it, which was a treatment style, and it was easy for me. That was the easiest format to work with. She didn't mind it at all. She said, we'll get it through the editing process and don't worry about it. We'll make it, you'll look like you know what you're doing. And like I said, you don't mess with what works. She just, it all came together semi-flawlessly. There I was at home, and Darlene, who's also a part of the creative process, because she's my business advisor, and not just my friend. She's a voracious reader. She goes through like a book every 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, look, read this. And every time we go through the process of, changing anything, Darlene was part of the creative process. Do you like this change? And she'd go like, yeah, I like it. It gives the book another dimension, and stuff like that. She was part of the creative process as well. And that made me feel extremely comfortable.
Right.
And I also have to commend everybody in the team who accepted her input. Jessica and everybody at New View Literature, they helped make her part of the process, and that made me comfortable, because there I was not really sure if what I was doing was really on track.
Right. If you have a tribe, you want to stay in it. You want to. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
you want to be comfortable. It's a big, comfort is a big thing.
It's a big thing.
Really is. Especially when you're out there trying to do your first book.
Right. It really is. It really is. And being able to take direction and, criticism, it all is part of it. Right. So who did the cover?
I did.
Oh.
I did. Me, Mark Lewis did that.
Ah.
Isn't that cool?
Yes, it is cool.
And I put together about 2 or 3 as an artist.
Okay.
I wanted to do the cover, but Ann called me up and said, basically, I want you to do the cover before I even suggested that I do the cover. So everything, we were all simpatico on the creative process. And Jessica, Jessica looked at it and went like, okay, Mark, that's the one. That's the one. That's it. It's over with.
Do you know how grueling it is to get a cover? You'll know on your second one. But that's sometimes, so you're 60 days out trying to find, the exact cover that you want. So you were lucky in that aspect, right? Yeah. I
was very fortunate. Yeah. Very fortunate. The entire creative process, I wouldn't say it went seamlessly, but it was close. It was close. Yeah. We had very few hiccups.
Your characters are developed in a kaleidoscope of real life, mixed race, LGBTQ, and love triangles.
Right.
Was that on purpose, or is that just how the story developed?
I was living in LA at the time, and I think there's just certain places you go, especially large metropolitan areas. If you lived in New York, I think a lot of the characters can be honed from that. living in LA at the time, I was just exposed to many, many types of people, because especially actors and writers, directors, these people, all these creative types, they seem to gravitate towards their own community.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so
their tribe,
they're Black, white, Asian,
yeah.
LBGT, Q. They're all of these things. And after a while, as you evolve as a person, you don't see any of these differences at all. All you see is this brilliant individual that you want to hang out with and absorb as much as you can. And that's basically what it was all about. Those 5 years for me were extremely hard.
Right.
But from a creative standpoint, I've never been able to replicate what I got from that atmosphere.
Oh, absolutely.
That was Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That was all LA. All LA.
Learning and a knowledge that you'll never forget. Right. Yeah.
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 It helped shape me. It was tough.
Sure.
It was tough, but it made me better. It made me better.
So in this story, I want to talk about how men and women love differently and how men and women perceive love differently, right? So the one relationship was with a beautiful woman overseas. The other relationship was from a young lady that you knew, or your character knew, when he was younger. And then your friend has another situation. So talk about how the differences, right, between how a man loves and a woman loves in the book. I know. Sorry.
Different backgrounds. Okay. I think different backgrounds shape different points of view.
It's okay.
And well, it's kind of hard. It's really kind of hard to explain. Men are competitive, and I think what I wanted to do in this book is that in the story is I wanted to kind of explain the way men think, because Chris comes back, he wants to be the conquering hero, even though he broke up with this wonderful person. He didn't understand how wonderful she was until he could not replace her. And it sort of objectifies her.
Yes.
And he falls short. I think he falls short as a human being because of it. And so the lesson that he learns by not being able to get her back is a hard lesson. It's bruh, you had it and you blew it. You blew it. And now she's in a relationship that you can't compete with, because you don't bring what she's getting in this relationship to the table. And he doesn't understand that, because as males, we're so driven by conquest, we're so driven by what I need, etc. And of course you think quite selfishly,
Go ahead.
Quite selfishly, that you can give her something that nobody else can. And that's not accurate at all.
Right.
And that's a hard lesson. That's a hard lesson for a man to deal with. Now, women, on the other hand, I don't know if I can really speak for women, but I see a great amount of passion and patience and empathy in the way a woman enters a relationship. They're very giving with the aim of making the both of you better, instead of me having the woman that I want, and that's just automatically going to make my life better. Because I'm thinking, really, like, in the eyes of other people, look at what he's got.
Right, the conqueror. What I'm saying? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You're the conqueror. So, and the one thing I like about this The one thing I like about this story, and the thing I want people to understand about this story, is this is about personal growth. This is not about romance.
No.
This is not about romance at all. This is about personal growth. This is about understanding what it really actually takes to love somebody. Right. And if you're not willing to do, you know, what they need, they can and many times they will move on and define what's right for them. And unfortunately, in the vast amount of times it happens, it's usually the woman that gets a chance to move on. Either she does so by her own volition, or she's cast out, right? And after that traumatic experience, she becomes maybe a little bit more careful, a little bit more guarded, but she will finally find what she wants in life because she has something to offer somebody. And that's what I think that's what Cinda really accomplishes in this story.
With an appreciation for that person, for what they have and what they bring to the table, and not what you have and what you bring to the table. Right.
Exactly.
Very well done. Very well done. Very well written. Tell me the hardest part about writing the novel, and then let's talk about the easiest part. Well, the hardest part was 20 years ago. I didn't realize it.
That was hard.
I didn't realize it sat in your computer.
So I think anytime you do something and it's kind of difficult,
it's enlightening.
It's the doubt. Is somebody gonna like this?
Yeah.
Is somebody out there gonna get this when I'm actually trying to put down here? That's just a doubt. I think, you know, you trudge through it. You try to come up with the best you can. You try to really shock people's imaginations, and you just wonder, you know, is this going to be? Nothing's universal. Not everybody's going to like.
Right.
Not everybody's going to like everything, you know. But are the majority of people who read this going to get something out of it? That was the hardest part for me. Just getting over that.
You're going to be so surprised at the email that you get, because the page that you thought was just going to be, that's fluff, you know, no one's going to pay any attention to that, will be that page or those pages that really hit somebody and they say, that happened to me, right? And you just wrote it as part of, you know, the dialogue or the body of the book. So that's what I found, and Cynthia probably can say that too, that it's just amazing who you affect, right? And who is affected by what you write. That's what you'll find, which is it's amazing, which is nice. So what next? When's the next book?
Writing another book.
Yeah.
Writing another book, man. I don't know. I'm gonna, you know, one day I'm just gonna hit send and Cynthia's gonna get it, and we're gonna start the process all over again. And by the way, I want to say that I'm proud that New View Literature, that I'm the first published individual at New View Literature outside of the great Cynthia Ann Jeffries.
Okay.
So, like, isn't that cool?
Yeah,
I think that's absolutely right. Flattered, girl. Flattered. That's just incredible for me. And so I've got, I think, especially if this turns out to be a success, she's going to let me write as many books as I want. And so I'm writing a new book now. And the title this time, here's my deal. This time the title is going to stick. It's going to be so fabulous that she's not going to be able she's not going to be able to turn it down.
I'm not going to bet no money on that, Mark. I'm just going to
yes, let's be completely clear on where that title came from. It was a line in the novel itself.
Yeah, it was.
And when Jessica was editing the book, she suggested looking through
a different,
and that became the title. We presented it to Mark, and Mark
Yes, it
Jessica,
was.
thank you so much.
Thanks, Jessica.
Jessica, I've never had a difficult day with Jessica. She is just an absolutely tremendously supportive, and allowed me, to be creative and complimented my work. And since she works with writers all the time, coming from her, it really calmed me down and helped me, gave me confidence. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You need a calming spirit when you're going through, your baby, because it's what it is. You deliver this product that you hope that, it has all its toes and all its feet, and everybody enjoys it. And so, yeah, it is a process. So at the end of our show, we always ask our guests for a pearl of wisdom. So I'll ask you for one of those now.
I was thinking, I don't know, oh man, but I coach kids.
Right. So
and every year when I coach kids, I tell them about greatness and the pursuit of greatness. And I'm big on quotes, and I write a lot of my own quotes. And one of my favorite quotes is, "Become a force that no man can stop, and you will become a legend that no man can deny." So that's where I am.
That's a good pearl of wisdom. Anybody have any questions for Mark before we sign off? Any questions? We look forward to your next book, and I look forward to seeing you at the F.R.E.S.H Book Festival in February. Cynthia, I hope that you are able to attend. I do thank everybody for being here this evening, even with, our little hiccups, and we will edit out everything we can before we put it up on YouTube. And Mark, thank you so much for being here this evening. And
Donna, it's a tremendous pleasure.
Thank you very much. It's called Looking Through a Different Lens. Put the book up again. It's on Amazon. It's everywhere, right? Everywhere you can get it.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, but
go to Amazon. That's the quickest. That's the quickest way to get it.
Okay, on Amazon.
That's the quickest.
Looking Through a Different Lens. Thank you, Mark, for being here this evening. And as we close, and thank you, everyone, for being here. To the group that's here every Monday night, you guys don't understand what that means to me, that you guys have your Monday nights with me and sharing with people and literature, and giving a boost to new Black authors. And I appreciate that.
Oh, so, Donna, one more thing.
Yes.
One more thing. Yes. www.newviewliterature.com. That's
okay, that's her website. Yeah, I was thinking.
Newviewliterature.com. Okay, if I don't do that, Cynthia calls me up right after this. And
I was kind of trying to get to that, but I didn't know what the website was. Like, is there somewhere else we can go and get the book? So thank you. You can say it again so everybody gets it.
www.newviewliterature.com.
Newviewliterature.
Tell them Mark sent you.
Tell them Mark sent you. Thank you very much. So when the lights go out and the cell phone towers go down, all you have left is a flashlight and a good book. And I thank you very much for being here. Good night, everybody. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Cynthia. Thanks, Darlene.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody.
The F.R.E.S.H Book Festival's premier sponsor is the city of Daytona Beach.